Welcome to Camp Okayest, powered by X2 Power, of course, part of the Okayest Podcast Network. Of course, of all of the great things going on with the Okayest Podcast Network, more specifically, the guys from Okayest Hunter and the big Foam Fest happening August 31st. So we're just a couple weeks away from this amazing event, the Horicon Marsh Archers, where it's going to take place. A huge 3D course, just a really good time, fun for the entire family. I know, is this the third year, Derek, of this?
Yep, this will be year number 3, and like you said, it's a great family climate. They've got a small little swing set there, but if you've got kids, feel free to bring the kids. They can hang out while you and your spouse or whoever go and fling a couple arrows. Otherwise, if you can make it there and just shoot the whole course, it's a great course. It's really nice. So,
and then you guys are gonna have a bunch of product and stuff to demo. I know, working with Latitude and stuff, some of their saddles in the past, you guys have had saddles there people can try out if they're interested in getting involved in checking out saddle hunting and whatnot.
Yeah, basically we all bring just all of our mobile stuff. I've got a couple different stands, old stands, new stands, the platforms, saddles, and then Greg or myself or both of us just kind of help people who are interested. Like, hey, let's get one stick up and see how it feels. If you've never wanted to, if you've ever wanted to try it, or if you've never hunted out of a smaller mobile stand, you get to come, you get to try it, and you can shoot from it because we've got a little practice range, so you can really get a feel for, is this something you're interested in, or are you no way, the ground is a good place for me, which is fine too.
Yeah. So again, if you're in anywhere around the central, southern Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, even to Illinois, Michigan, and want to come check out a really cool event with a bunch of really cool dudes, check out Foam Fest. Again, August 31st, Horicon March Archers is where it takes place. All of that info is up at okayesthunter.com. And of course, I kind of spoiled the treat. Our guest this week, Derek Malcoe of Okayest Hunter, and I don't know, about 17 other different projects involved with the Podcast Network. It's nice to have you at camp here. The past a couple weeks ago, I remember we did a show when I was on Okayest Hunter. It was just me, you, and it's basically, let's be real, it was you and I saving Eric's ass because he sucks at schedule.
Eric and those calendars just don't tend to get along. Numbers, time, it's all a shit show. But man, that guy's got so many things going on. He's burning from more than two ends of the candle. He's always just a busy guy, but he means the best. And I tell you what, I mean, you and I were talking about some of the podcast just issues, and now I'm trying to run this little mini one that's not even live, so it doesn't matter. I have had Eric looks like a god, and I'm in the gutters. I have had so many issues. I'm not great with the tech stuff, so I've been making my way through it. But man, I give him a lot of credit. It's harder than it looks.
Yeah, I was giving him a lot of credit, a lot of props on last week's show.
Oh yeah.
So now I can give him the hard time. No, he really is one of the hardest working dudes. I would be lost in this show, would be nothing without him and all the support that he's provided with, random text messages at whatever hour of the night to be like, hey, there's this issue. Can you help? And he drops everything with, a wife and 3 kids and all the stuff that he's got going on. So props to him. If you have someone that you work with or work around, that is that person, give them props when you can, because those people don't get nearly the props that they should. I know they probably don't want them and they don't accept them well, but still give them to him anyway.
Hell yeah. He's one of those guys who deserves them. He's never looking for them. He's totally the 51-49, give more than you get. And I think that's paid off for him just because of the relationships. Like you just mentioned, he's always willing to help everyone. I can't tell you how many times we get off the podcast with a guest, and then Eric is immediately like, how's this going? Oh, let me fix that. You don't need to do that. Do that. Constantly offering advice. And man, when you're that kind of person, karma and the good things kind of come around. And I think that's what we're seeing with the whole network thing, and having you jump on and so many other great hosts come in and be like, hey, I want to be a part of this. It's because he's enigmatic. He's got this fever about him. Just a lot of it's ADHD. It's so contagious. He's just got this frantic, we got to do cool shit.
I was going to say, because he's got the charisma of Dwayne Johnson, but yeah, we'll go with just absolute the other spectrum.
Are we talking about different Erics? Dwayne Johnson?
I was trying to be positive for him, man. I'm giving him the credit.
You're a nice guy. Hey, Ritter's a nice guy too.
I'm just an okay guy. I'm really just okay at the end of the day. Anyway, you kind of alluded to the whole reason why I have Derek on the show, and I know I mentioned it last week of the show, it was exactly that side project you got going on. Is we've had a lot of launches, a lot of things happening within the network. I feel like I'm probably the newest show, or maybe there's one other, Boyer. If I can't say that right.
Boyer
That
with
would be
Matt Morris.
yeah. So that's the newest one. I'm second newest. So I'm still like an infant. I'm still a baby. I'm like literally still in my Pampers. But you've been a part of Okayest Hunter and everything that they've been building for years, and kind of the tent pole that show and that network and that brand really has become. In this general just Okayest, we're all okay people.
It,
But you decided
it
to
was
stretch out and do your own thing.
Well, no, I did not. I didn't decide any of this, man. I've just been along for the ride.
Well, no, I mean
No,
the new show dropping pins. You
the,
obviously said yes, I'll do that. Whether
I
it
said
was your
yes.
idea or someone said, hey, I want you to do this.
No, yes. I mean, to all of it, yes. It's kind of cool because, man, I never had an interest in anything podcast related. Like, it's just not really a true interest of mine. Like, I would not have sought that out. But like Eric and Greg, the OGs who have run the show forever, they were actually trying to get one of my good buddies to come on the podcast and just be a guest. And he couldn't make it. Something happened. He's like, you should talk to my buddy Derek. He's a big hunter. He'd be great for it. So just give him a call instead of me, and I'll reschedule. So I got to guest on the podcast, and then we were bullshitting. Greg and Eric are such great guys, good, easy guys to talk to. Then we bullshitted after, and like, hey man, like if you ever want to come back on, we'd love to have you back on again. And then like I guested one more time, and then we ended up like uprooting our family from northeastern Wisconsin, and we moved down to southeastern Wisconsin right about as COVID hit, and it was like there wasn't anything to do. And Eric and Greg were like, dude, do you just want to like come be on it? Like, you're just want to like be a co-host once in a while? And I was like, talk about deer every Tuesday, drink beer, like say stupid shit. I could probably do that. So started doing that with them. And then,
don't twist too hard.
Gotta get out of the house. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, but it was a good fit. And then over the years, just getting to know those two guys. I mean, they're both just wildly humble and good people. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I've kind of stuck around and, tried to kind of put my best foot forward and provide something, just because I feel like what Eric is doing at the core of it is such like from a good place. And he doesn't ever like take on a venture or a partner or take like a paid sponsorship if he doesn't think that it's like a good fit for what his mission is. And I give him so much credit because like, man, we're not making any money. like money is great to get a business going, but I've seen him turn down like, that's not the vibe we're going for. I think it's just to this or to that. And he always at the heart of it is like, just has this vision of like what he wants to do for the hunting community. And it's a really positive thing. And that's just made me want to like, stand by his side and be like, this is like what the industry needs. They're like people who like make moral decisions, not just business decisions. I don't know if that's going to work, but I can get behind it, And then Eric had an idea a couple months ago to, he had the show idea where it was all story-based kind of learning stuff. And he's like, dude, I think you should do it. Like, just talk to these killers because like you get their lingo. I don't know what the hell they're saying when they're talking about thermal dumps and this and that. He's like, you can talk about that. I think you should do it. And I was like, you know what? If it's going to help, I would love to do it. And I just kind of want to talk to these people anyway, because I'm a whitetail nut as it is. That's what is on my brain all the time. So I was like, yeah, dude, if it's going to help and I get to talk to all these cool people and hear their stories, let's do it. So we've been having a lot of fun with it so far. I think I've got eight episodes recorded, 4 released. And hopefully, the whole idea is like if one person gains something from it, learns something, has a little aha moment, then it was totally worth it. And got some good feedback so far. So hopefully, the story based is helping some of the listeners pick up on some of the stuff that these guys are doing.
Well, I think that's good. And that's the one thing that I will say about, knowing all of you guys and listening and hearing the dynamic of things. I think the dynamic is really good because you've got Eric, who's, well, I mean, he's just the ringleader. He's that guy. He's the everyday guy who's kind of the well-meaning moron. And I'm not saying he's a moron, but like he just kind of plays that average Joe everyday person, right? Like he's that guy. Greg is a very humble, but also very intelligent man. He's the kind of jack of all trades, master of nothing is what he describes himself as. And then like, I always feel there's a, I don't want to say an expert level, but a more legitimacy that I feel like sometimes you bring in just the few things you say. It's like you can be a man of little words, And it's like you said, it's that edge of the. I'll take this back. So this is something that I had learned long time ago, and this is going to sound really crazy, but I talked to Matt Pinfield. I don't know if you know who Matt Pinfield was. Very famous rock jock. He was on MTV as a VJ for years, whatever. I met up with Matt Pinfield up at Conclave in Minneapolis, which is an industry, radio type thing. We were talking about interviewing, and we actually ended up having lunch together at Conclave, and he was saying every time you interview someone, you need to have a few things, and the most important things you have to have is something that's interesting to someone who knows absolutely nothing about who this person is, something that everyone can learn about this person, and then something that the absolute super fan that knows everything about it can still learn something to have it interesting. And that's what I say. Like, I feel like the three of you kind of fit those three tent poles where you can know some lingo and have those little things that you can interject to conversations that can touch those people that know the thermal dumps and all those like crazy jargon things that most people might not. And I think that's a really good dynamic. And that's why I really like this show and I'm excited for it, because I love storytelling and I love just asking questions and hearing people tell stories and just talk. And I feel that there's a lot of lessons that can come from telling stories, which is the concept of this show, is just sitting around camp, shooting the shit. And there's always tips and tricks and little things that come out of just BSing. And so like, I think it's really cool, the concept of how that came about.
Yeah, Eric was reading, it was from one of the, he's big into Stoicism and Greek philosophy. And it was one of the philosophers, I don't remember who, but he was talking about like going back to the origin of like learning, like that moment when all of a sudden like things changed, like it clicked in your brain and you saw everything in a whole new light. And Eric was like, that's what I want to like mimic, is like these aha moments that these people had who are now like, don't even think about that stuff because like they're so advanced. So the idea is to talk to all these guys who are on other podcasts. A lot of the people I've interviewed so far have been on tons of podcasts talking tactics, and I've listened to all but tactics are just
boring as shit.
It's a tactic, and it's so dependent on the area. You know what I mean? Like it might work there, and then it'll never work again just because of the scenario. But like when you have the story and you put like a person in the tactic, right? Like I learned this because this is what I saw. Well, people can see things that deer do anywhere, and it's not going to be the same, but like the tactic talk is great, don't get me wrong, like you can learn a lot of stuff from it, but it's just a different way of looking at it. And then I figure my job, like, get these people on who can tell the story, who had the experience, let them talk. I want them to talk, like you guys lead the show, and then I'm there to rudely interrupt and just try to point out like, here's things that if you're a beginning hunter, like maybe like they're explaining it like it was second nature, but here's what they were really maybe thinking. Were you thinking this? Like, is this why you did this? And
Captain
trying to
subtext. I call that Captain subtext.
That's exactly what I'm doing. Is I'm just trying to break it down. Like that's the educator mindset, is like, here's a chunk. Let me break this part down. Let me break this part down. And a lot of the guests have been doing such a good job of doing that I don't need to do it a lot. But like, I'll try to point out things that I think as a beginning or like somebody who's coming up maybe didn't catch on to in the story, but was still a huge pivotal point, or like something that could be an aha moment for them that wasn't even like the guest moment. And man, I have learned so much doing this so far, 8 episodes in, like, and just seeing what multiple people, like there's little things that like, oh, 3 or 4 people have mentioned this one similar idea. Oh man, like, so I think one of the next, I think the 10th episode, I think I'm just going to kind of go through the guests that we've had and like distill down like, hey, look at this. These 3 people all talked about this one thing. That's something that if you're hunting this kind of terrain, you should definitely take note of. And I'm sure like you do the same with like all your fishing stuff and like, tactic, you take this and then you use it when you can. Like that's the whole point of it, right?
And you hit on something right in the beginning that I think is so true, that is missed in a lot of educational podcasts, YouTube videos, whatever it is there's a lot of story beforehand before you make the discovery. And if you don't have the story or the mindset or in the mindset of that person of why they made the decision or what they saw, it doesn't quite all come together and doesn't make sense. You may as well just like be saying something like a cake is purple. Well, yeah, but like, how did the cake become purple? There was a decision that was made to get there. Like I mean, it's the weirdest thing I can use to explain it, but that's just it. Like you said, with fishing, there is absolutely that. There is certain moments where there's things that I have discovered and stumbled upon in the moment. And if I just said, oh, hey, go out and do this, you're like, okay. But also that scenario would not work out without having the full explanation of how I stumbled into this and why this was present at this time on this lake, and it's not going to work everywhere the same way. So you can't just go out to every lake and just do this exact same thing and it's going to work. This situation is what caused it, and you need that story and the storytelling along with it.
That's where the tactic is just like that one little thing, right? It's like, and it's valuable, it's huge. But if you don't know when to employ the tactic, if you don't know how to do it and what to, like, it's useless no matter what you're doing. You think about it in a job, especially like a trade job or like the job you do, like you learn stuff over the years that just like is trivial to you now. You don't think about it. You just set it up in this way because this is the most efficient way. So like when guys focus on the tactic, you miss all of those steps that they're no longer thinking about because they don't even think to say them. You know what I mean? Like you talk to a master, 10,000 hours creates, a mastery. They're not thinking about why they're doing this. They just know that this is what they do. But like the more we can pull out of them, okay. And I tell them before we hit the record button, like no details too small. If you feel like you're being boring in the details, you're probably doing exactly what we're hoping you to do. Like, tell us why you're doing what you're doing, what you did. Like, and a few guys, man, we had a guy, Logan Carson, he's a young dude, and he explained in major detail. And it was beautiful because you could like, there was like eye-opening experiences. You were like riding along with him. It was great. And seems like a lot of people have liked that format and we're trying to stick to it. A lot of times it spins into a little bit of tactic or, this or that. But so far, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think it's really cool.
See, I love that too. And it's a lot of contention in our house. My wife and I, like, over the years, have had to figure out where she's like, just give it to me straight. Tell me the story. I don't need the radio version or something, because she knows that I like to set things up and have like kind of a drama. And it's, it can't be just like, oh, hey, blah, 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 and say a fact. Like, it'd be like, oh my gosh, never going to happen because of this. Or like, you built that whole tease essentially into it. And it's like, oh wait, no, I just got to shoot it straight. And I love that build up and that tease. And I love doing that. So yeah, I could see that.
That's funny that you just brought the wife into it, because I was thinking of that as you were just talking. Is like my wife and I have a good relationship like that, where like I don't know that I always have like an easy way of breaking complex ideas down, but like I'm good at explaining processes, I feel like. And my wife is a very like, don't just tell me what my job is. I need to know what happens before I get this and what happens after, so that I know like what is the best way to actually do this to set it up for the next person. She's very process oriented. So if you tell her like, here's what I need you to do, it's a struggle because she doesn't see the whole, you know what I mean? And I think about this podcast kind of in the same way. It's like the tactic. So like her and I,
your marriage is helping you do a podcast. This is not,
or maybe the podcast helping me do my, I don't know.
Where's the podcast helping the marriage? Which one, chicken or egg first?
If the podcast definitely not helping the marriage because I'm down in my basement more. But maybe that is helping.
Yeah,
maybe that is helping.
Oh, it's like when it comes to tournament weeks for me, my wife pretty much already knows. She's like, it's tournament week. I've lost you. You're not even a present person in this family. And I'm like, no, I'm here like hanging around. She's like, yeah, you're staring at your phone. You're looking at maps. You're doing this. You're doing that. And I'm like, so I'm still here.
Yeah.
And then you add in this. It's like, oh, hey, it's tournament week, and I still got to sneak away and do 2 podcasts this week or whatever. And it is what it is.
Yeah.
We couldn't do the things that we do without the support that we have at home. And I think anyone that does anything that they love and are passionate about, that's what it comes down to. Is you have to have a good support system at home in order to be able to do those things, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a hobby, whether it's, I don't know, weaving baskets, doesn't matter.
I think we're all lucky in the fact that not only do our wives put up with it, but I mean, I'm sure your wife is the same with your fishing addiction. I mean, they realized when they met us, like, this is like what we're thinking about a lot of time. So I think like when you jump into something and now like trying to help people or like it's like, oh, finally it's being put to use other than him just ambling around the woods. Like finally there's some use to all of his studying maps and talking deer. Like now there's some sort of use. It's not helping, but
it's funny you say that, Derek. It's like when my wife and I first got together, we first started dating, that was when I was really hardcore waterfowling, and like to the point where I was hunting of the 60-day season, like a light season was 45 days. Like I was out a ton. And I remember having the conversation, we started dating, and it was like, and she hates when I've said it like, oh, I've had the talk, and it sounds like all like masculine, toxic masculinity, and that's not what it is at all. But like I remember really having a conversation and being like, hey, like here's the deal, like this is what I do. You're welcome to like come stay. My house is yours. I'll be, home at, a decent time, sometime between 10 and noon, probably on like most days, whatever. And then we'll do our thing. But like, this is what I do every morning. So I want to do. And if you're not cool with that, like, I get it. Like, no hard, like, I totally understand. But like, this is what's important to me. And this is what I enjoy doing. And she's totally on board. And like, she knew how much I fished, and she fished with me. And like, I got fishing with like her dad and stuff a lot. And so like, it fit and made sense. But it's that the one thing I would say with us is we've always been very clear communication from day one of like who we are, what we want, all these things. Like, it's just been very clear communication. That's the most important thing in any relationship or in any learning opportunity. And teaching is to be clearly communicating everything you're
100%.
trying to say and convey in expectations.
And I think like you mentioned like having the talk. We had the talk also, and like I'm glad you mentioned like it's not some like, hey, here's how it is, like masculinity trip. It's
Yeah.
to be clear, because my wife and I we actually went to high school together, and then we didn't see each other after high school. We were kind of in different circles. We knew each other, but big high school, 510 in the graduating class, knew each other a little bit, and then went to college, different places, and then we ended up meeting back up at a friend's birthday, and it was during gun season. I had shot a buck that day, field dressed it, got it up, and I called my buddy. I'm like, buck's in the back of the truck. I'm coming for your birthday, man. Like, get a beer ready. I'm actually going to be at your birthday. I got a buck. Let's go. So I was all excited, like wearing my hillbilly flannels, bearded, I still had like dried blood on my knuckles, and like show up at this silly little house party. And she comes down. I recognized her right away, and I was like, "Holy cow, how you doing?" And she did not recognize me because I looked like a disheveled murderous hillbilly, I'm sure. But we ended up like hitting it off, and this is like after Thanksgiving. So we started dating, and I was like, "Look, I don't want you to get the wrong idea, because like you just started dating me after hunting season,
Right?
Like 9 months from now, you're gonna be like, where's my
Who is
boyfriend?
this
What
guy?
are you
Yeah.
doing? Why are you sneaking away?" I'm like, I'm just preparing you. You met me at the perfect time because I got nothing to do. But next year comes September, like I'm gonna be a little nutty, and I'm gonna spend a lot of time in the woods. And like all I told her was, it's better than me spending time in bars, pissing away money, talking stupid. I'm doing something I love, and I'm in the woods exercising. I said, I got friends who piss away all their money and time in bars. I'm not doing that. I'm in the woods. Like, come with me if you want. I'd love to have you, but just letting you know.
That's what my wife says all the time. And she tells like, younger people that she works around stuff. She's like, no, you know what you got to do? You got to find yourself one of those outdoors guys, one of those guys that loves fishing or hunting. That's his thing, right? But he still loves family and whatever, because that's the guy you ain't gonna worry about anything. Where is he on a Friday night? He's in bed because he's got to get up the next morning and go in the woods or fish, or like, that's the person. He's, and she says all the time. She's like, yeah, so what? You're out fishing for most of the day. You're not out all night pissing away your money at the bar and all this and that. And I'm like, it's funny you said that, because it's totally the truth. It's like, there's way worse things I could be doing than going out and fishing, for 8-9 hours out of a day, or going and sitting in the woods for, again, 8-9 hours of a day or whatever. And, that's something I've always been cognizant about with our family and having our little guys. I've gotten into bow hunting, because I'm that adult onset bow hunter. I never deer hunted. Like, I was 16. Like, I think it was when I was 16 and 17, like 2 years. I basically hunted opening weekend. That was it. It doesn't even count as deer hunting. And, I used to always joke, call it deer waiting. I was a duck hunter.
Real.
You know what I mean? And deer season
action.
is during the best duck season for me. So like, I'd rather be duck hunting. But as I've got into it, like, I have been very cognizant of, I basically hunt mornings and not evenings, because I can get up early in the morning. Everyone's still in bed. I can hunt the morning, and I can still be home by 11 or noon. And I've still got a whole day with the family. So it's not like my hobby is completely crushing the entire family. And that's my conscious choice. Everyone else makes their own choice. I'm not like saying one thing's better than the other, but that's just how I consciously do it.
Well, no, yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, you become a really efficient use, like how you use your time changes completely. Instead of just throwing, I'll try a duck. The weather's not great. Like, you really like focus in, because you want to spend as much time with the family as you can. But like when the families do it, oh, well, maybe this could work. And you become really good at like trying to plan out those little nuances of like, what can I get away with here and there without jeopardizing time that I should be spending with my family, because you only got so much of that. You know what I mean? We got our lives to do these things. And even if it's like something that you're wildly obsessed with, I love bow hunting. Like, man, spending time with your kids and your family, even after a tough day, like I'm complaining about today, like, you're never gonna get that time back. So like you got to think about where you spread it, and just like you said,
you hit it after having just an absolute shit day, shit tournament, whatever, it is that you do, to me, it's nothing better than coming home and hanging with the family. Even if I'm like kind of half mentally still not with it, it's still nice to see them. And, I love those tournaments where we all travel together. And I get done and just like hang out with them and stir on the fire and, eat some food and chit chat and play and we'll go to bed. And one change that I've made this year in my tournament is I kind of moved a series and fish a different, club basically. And so I could stay home. Like I have spent more nights in my own bed the night before a tournament than I ever have before. And it's great. I love it.
That's
There's
awesome.
something really nice about that. I've been saying it all season. It's like I've been away one night so far. Now, as I get later on, these last couple here, I will be away for the tournaments and not sleep in my own bed. But it's been great most of the season to spend a night in my own bed. Yeah, I got to get up, at 2:30 in the morning and drive, an hour or 2 hours, whatever, to get to wherever versus like just being there and, going 15 minutes down the road. But still, like just to have that extra time the night before with family and to sleep in my own damn bed, there's just like the back of my truck is comfortable, but my bed is so much more comfortable.
Oh, you know it. How many tournaments are you fishing a season now?
10. The season's
Holy
10.
crap. That's a lot. I mean, that keeps you busy. And if you don't plan it out, that's a lot of time. If you're staying away 8 out of 10 of those weekends or days, that's a lot of time that you're putting extra stress on the family. The kids are like, why is dad gone again? Like to catch fish, John Deere. What's he doing?
Right. to mess up and cost himself in some turn. Like I've had a
Hey, it won't be long till your little man is fishing those tournaments right next to you.
I know he's already out. Like he's such an interesting kid. Like I love everyone's like, oh, what sports your kid gonna play? Like I'm straight up, my kid, he's gonna be a theater kid. Like we know this already. He is not like he is all into like songs, dance. Maybe part of like growing up a pandemic and having nothing but Disney Plus to watch can be accounted for that. I don't know. Like, but it's also nature over nurture, I think, at sometimes. But he knows dad fishes and he likes to go out with dad and fish, and he'll go out in the kayak. And I did the dumb thing this season where halfway through the season I actually switched to a new boat. Like I bought a whole new boat, re-rigged an entire boat on the fly.
Crap.
Like, yeah, I'm psychotic is what it comes down to. Well, basically it was full story. I've been thinking about it even going into this season of like, okay, this is probably gonna be the last season I'm going to fish with my lightning strike, a boat made in Minneapolis. I'm thinking like, I kind of want to do something else because I was contemplating going, it might be time to add a motor. Like I've always loved having the pedal drive, you get the workout with it, but just seeing some of the longer run stuff and seeing how I'm fishing against other people, there's places where I think it could have been a benefit. Basically, when it comes to just having spot lock on a trolling motor is so much more beneficial than having to like set up and drop an anchor and then like you waste so much time trying to set up, in the appropriate position and drop an anchor, and sometimes the anchor doesn't quite hold all the way depending upon wind and waves and all that stuff. So just having spot lock was in the boat that I had was not going to be great to put a motor on. I would have to do a whole bunch of custom work on it and this and that. And a couple of the guys that I know really were into the New Canoe Unlimited. They'd fished them for a while. And I really started digging the boat because it's a complete open concept. Like you can custom rig anything you want. And I'm a big custom rigging guy. I love doing all kinds of like crazy custom stuff and
set it up how you want it.
Right. If you watch like my YouTube channel, that's what I do is like my fishing stuff is all like literally making like this year, like put live scope in my boat and I made this whole custom dash thing and all this and like showing people how to do it and doing it for actually cheap. Like you can go out and buy some of this stuff and spend hundreds of dollars, but I'd rather like custom mod it myself. So I'm like, oh my God, this is a boat that I can like do everything with. This is awesome. And then
blank canvas, right? Like you just said it how you want it. Oh yeah.
So then I stumble upon a local dealer that is going out of business because they have another business that takes up more business and they just want to blow everything out. And I'm like, someone gave me tips like, oh, you should go check out and just see what they have. And I was just literally going to like see if there's any kind of like accessory stuff that was, because I know all that stuff was like half off or something. Like, let's just see if there's something like I could pick up that I might be able to use down the road. And I walk in and they've literally got the exact boat in the exact color that I want. And I'm like,
trouble.
Right. So then I'm in that catch, like, what do I do? And it was literally a week and a half before like the big Door County tournament. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just say, well, what would you, what are you looking for to get rid of that? And he gave me a price. I'm like, okay. And I kind of thought about it for a second. And it was like, I know things like kayaks are not something you're going to find cheaper than MSRP. It's not a thing unless it's used, like a used buying from Marketplace or You're not just going to go to a dealer. They don't have sales on these things. It's just not the way it works. Like bows, like you're not going to walk into a bow shop and pick up
and get a
a
good
brand.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to pick up a brand new bow and get a deal on it. It's just not how it happens. And so the fact that I basically got the thing for just over 25% off price. I was like, okay, if I've even been thinking about it, I'm never going to get this price again. So let's just pull the trigger on it now, and then at least just have the boat. Like, I'm just going to let the boat sit for the season, and then next year we'll work on it. And then after like a day of staring at it in my backyard, I was like, or let's just do it now. Let's just rip the
Now,
Band-Aid
let's
off
go.
and let's just do it now. And that's what I did.
You're like, since I've already pre-planned it in my head exactly what I want, I'll probably have it done by 6. Let's go.
Right. It was just, let's jump online, let's order a couple things, let's get it all in. And yeah, it's been nothing but problems, so to speak. Just little stupid things that come up that, again, I think if I wouldn't have rushed into things or would have thought things out, not that I didn't think things out, but I don't know. It just, there's been more work than I needed to. If I wouldn't have bought this boat, it would have been a lot less stressful of a fishing season for me.
Oh, I'm sure.
Not unlike last year when I get like into, what was it, just around Thanksgiving, and I decide, screw it, I'm buying a full saddle setup too. Because I got sick of hunting the hang on. But I was like, I knew this year I was going to do a lot more saddle stuff, but I thought, you know what? Why not just get it now and then start playing with it now when it's late in the season, when it's not the rut and stuff, when it really counts, and I can get used to, doing some hunts and stuff in it. And so that's what I did. Now, like, super comfortable, and I look forward to like literally launching the season this year. And the other part also with the new kayak that I got is it's super like stable, super river ready. So I'll be able to like sneak down some rivers and stuff with the mobile
There we
setup.
go.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's all these little things where the decision was there that like it is going to open up a lot more stuff down the road. Like, it's not like it was just a spur of the moment thing. This has been thought about. It just kind of came together a lot quicker than I intended it to come together or was expecting it
Now,
to come together.
did you sell your older one? Or are you keeping
No,
it for your son? What do
I
you, what's
I still
what's the
have it.
plan?
My intention is to sell it. I just haven't got around to like washing it up and taking pictures and posting it and doing all that stuff. So sometime probably here so I've got a tournament coming up here this weekend, and then I've got basically a month off before I get going into my last like 3 tournaments of the season. So I'll probably try and take time to get it done there. So
Sweet.
I probably should have tried to get rid of it already. If not, hopefully by next year, be able to get rid of it. It sucks to have the financial sitting on there because I basically dipped into next year's finances to do this year. But it'll all be all right in the end. And worst come to worst, I do have a second boat. So if there's any friends that want to join me out at some point in time, yeah, we can take both boats out and do a little fishing together. So for the rest of this season, anyway. Did you freeze up on me? Oh, there we go. Darn technology working great again. Well, we'll see if we get Derek back again pretty soon here. Again, if you're listening to us where you are with podcast, don't forget we're also a YouTube streamed show. So if you aren't watching us there and aren't scoping it out, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching us on YouTube, hey, great. Glad to have you here. It's always cool to see things and we can demonstrate things and you get to see, cool stuff that we're talking about. Like, Derek, the buck killer, he is having all of the mounts behind him in the background in what I assume is his basement, I believe he said. But yeah, so we want to make this a live every Thursday night show where you can actually be a part of it. You can call and you can text and all that sort of stuff. But the only way to do that and actually be able to live stream on YouTube is to reach a certain subscriber count. So we need you to help out, give us a subscribe. So even if you're listening to us on Spotify and iHeart, wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure to go check out our YouTube channel and give us a subscribe so we can make this thing as cool and as fun as we want it to be. Just like the guys from Okayest Hunter who are, always out there doing their show live on Tuesdays. We want to do this a live Thursday thing and share the fun. And hopefully we can get Derek back in here and get a little bit more kind of quickly into his new show, Dropping Pins, which I don't even know if we even said the name of the show of what he's doing, which is, as he described, kind of a spin-off of telling stories and getting tactics out of stories. And all of that is done actually on the Okayest Hunter podcast channel. So if you want to listen to it, you just go to wherever you stream podcasts and it's actually a part. It's going to look like a new show from Okayest Hunter, but it's actually Derek and his Dropping Pins show. So that's something to check out. Is there anything else in the news or anything else that's coming up to me? I know it's kind of that crazy time of year where we're getting towards the end of summer, which I know is crazy to say end of summer because for us that live in the upper Midwest, Wisconsin, where I am, it's really not become summer until just the last like 3 weeks. And now it's already into August. back to school is coming up. I know a lot of colleges are starting, and that's where you can tell the hunting stuff is starting to ramp up. I can already see the excitement from guys like Derek and that getting into it, where a lot of those bow seasons start to kick off super, super early. It always depends where you are, um, of in the country of where it starts off. I believe Minnesota is pretty early. But yeah, so that'll be coming around the corner as that I'm wrapping up fishing. It's just a really fun time. That end of summer into fall to me is just as fun as that early spring. Spring, you've got all the excitement of turkey hunting. You got the excitement of fishing coming along. Some places, if you're in the upper Midwest, you still might have a little bit of ice fishing still left. When it comes to doing outdoor things, I always think fall and spring are the two most exciting times because you've got the excitement of new things coming. Even if it's camping or hiking, fall is the best freaking time to hike and go out and just take a walk in the woods and just see things. Even if you're not hunting, like that's part of I think why I really fell in love with bow hunting and love it so much is it's kind of a hike. It's a way to get out and enjoy things in the outdoors, enjoy things in nature. When you're doing the walk out in the dark in the morning, it's not the same. But as you're walking out and it's daylight, you really get to see things. Or doing that situation where you're kind of track a deer, you get to see new places and new things that you might not have caught or seen or been around. So I just always get excited for those things. I see Derek was trying to jump back in here. Good old technology, man. You think we'd make it 2 weeks in a row without a technological glitch, but that's the world that we live in. I think after 2020, we all should be used to glitches and problems happening because, I think we talked about it on last week's show. We were all watching every newscast where people are sitting in closets in their house doing shows. And so we kind of get used to things not working out appropriately and there being issues with stuff. So hopefully you're hanging there with us through things. Again, don't forget to follow us on socials at Camp Okayest is all of our socials. Instagram is probably the most active, but also on Facebook. Maybe eventually a TikTok. Just kind of waiting to see what's happening with that TikTok and, whatever. I have my issues with it. I know it's a place where a lot of people use it. I don't know. I've done it on my own. I got quite a few followers on my own TikTok, but it just tends to be anything in the outdoor space gets a little, we'll call it shadow banned, kind of pushed aside from other things. So I just rather focus on the places that we can all hang out. We can all share things collectively together without worrying about something, we'll call it censoring us, sort of slightly. So, by the way, I should shameless plug this because I didn't before yet. Rocking the Okayest Hunter camo cap. I believe they do still have these in stock, okayesthunter.com. If they don't now, they will very, very soon. Awesome. This is like my official bow hunting hat. Like my walk-in, walk-out hat is this hat. So comfortable. I love that leather patch. And it's cool to have that camo pattern. So we, in honor of Derek, in honor of talking about a hunting show tonight, I'd rock the Okayest Hunter ball cap. So, well, I don't know. I waiting to see if I get a message from Derek here and see what's going on. I don't know if we just like straight lost him or what. Oh, he just lost his internet completely. Well, that's fun. Technology's fun. I guess what that means is we should wrap it here and we'll leave you with a cliffhanger. We talked about the tease and teasing things. So, what are some of the things you can expect from dropping pins? And who are some of the big name guests you think Derek's going to have on? Because I know there's some major whitetail, we'll call them, I don't want to call them influencers, but people that are very influential in hunting in the outdoor space that I know will be coming up. Maybe we'll find out more from Derek next time we have him on, because there will be a next time to have him on. But we thank you for joining us tonight, dealing with the technology, dealing with me rambling on senselessly for the last 5 minutes to try and kill time, to only find out that we've completely lost internet with Derek. But seriously, go check out Dropping Pins. It's again on the the Okayest Hunters podcast channel, part of the Okayest podcast network. There's so many OKs in there. I'm just getting confused at this point. But seriously, check out Dropping Pins. It's amazing. Really, really great, like Derek said, with all the storytelling and the tactics, things you can learn. I've listened to the first couple episodes. Really, really cool stuff. Even if you're not into bow hunting specifically, I think there's little fun facts and little fun stories you could get from listening to the show. So go check out Dropping Pins anywhere that you check out podcasts. Again, it's a part of the Okayest podcast right there. So go to Okayest Hunter in their podcast and check out Dropping Pins. We're going to wrap it up here. Next week, we will actually eat a map that Derek has dropped a pin in. We'll catch you then.